You're praised for being strong, organized, always put together. But what they don't see, you cry in the shower, you clench your jaw at night. You feel like if you let one ball drop, your whole life will collapse. You feel like there's no one else that can carry the burdens, the responsibilities you've been carrying, because either they just won't do it right, or there will be nothing for you to do. Perfectionism is not a personality trait. For many of us, it's a trauma response. And on today's episode of Unpacking Me, we're taking off the mask and talking about how high-functioning survival is slowly killing us. I am Nikki Cameron, your host and trauma recovery therapist.
And I am Renelle St. Jean, your co-host and trauma recovery therapist.
Perfectionism often starts in childhood as a way to feel safe, sometimes accepted, loved, in control. And growing up in families where mistakes were not allowed, or where love was conditional, and achievement was the only source of praise, perfectionism is a manifestation of those types of relationships and environments. And so we were not raised to rest. We were raised to perform.
Woo! Somebody said it.
Yes.
Somebody said it. Where we live in a trauma-based perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oftentimes what that looks like is we can't say no.
Mm-hmm.
Or we over-apologizing. I used to
Yeah.
always be the one that would be like, sorry, every 5 minutes. I would apologize for everything.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever said, I'm sorry, and someone says, why are you sorry? And you go, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, what are you're sorry for being sorry that you're sorry?
And then they'll go, stop apologizing. And you go, I'm sorry.
You know, we're laughing about this, but it's not. It's
not funny.
it's sad. It's
It
sad.
is.
It's sad.
Yeah, because in that experience, there's a fear of being seen as lazy or weak.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to overcompensate. And the biggest part of it, at least for me, I found was the constant inner criticism.
Mm-hmm.
That inner critic was loud
Mm-hmm.
and strong and powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then there comes the comparison
Mm-hmm.
and the shame cycle.
Well, who are you comparing to?
Dude, I don't even know. I just knew I had to compare.
Right.
And whether it was a sibling or it was even the caregiver, like my own parents.
Okay.
Or the community, or just the idea of who they wanted me to be.
And sometimes it's comparing to people on social media.
Social media, in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that part where there's the smile
Mm-hmm.
that hides the suffering.
Mm.
So that person is so cheerful and loving and bubbly, but behind that smile is just the suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And and Black women and Caribbean daughters,
Mm-hmm.
the pressure to be everyone's backbone, especially as an eldest daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Lord.
And so, speaking of eldest daughter, which I am,
Me too.
I know what that feels like. And so your experience might not look like mine, but I get it, right? And sometimes we're so terrified that people can see our flaws, our inadequacies, our imperfections, that it causes us to isolate. We stay away because some parts of us believe that we're naked, that they can see what we know we're weak at, we're struggling with. So if it's not perfect, it's not good enough, then we hide it.
Yeah, because there's that fear of that judgment.
Man.
And not being accepted
Man.
in that moment. Woo.
And the level of stress that goes along with trying to hide it,
Oh, Lord.
that goes along with trying to be perfect, is so overwhelming. And that's why we see things like heart disease and high blood pressure. Is this the only reason why people have high heart disease and high blood pressure? No, it's not. However, it's one of the reasons, it's one of the contributing factors. And sometimes people don't realize how much what's going on in our minds, in our thoughts, in our brain affects our bodies. Our environment plays a role in it. Experiences we have plays a role in it. But it's also important to understand that this perfectionism, this need to get it right all the time, to be worthy and good enough, it's killing us, literally. Yeah. So for me, I, as a first generation daughter, one time would carry a lot of guilt about resting. Like I didn't know how to rest until I met my husband. I didn't know what rest was, because I heard so often, rest when you're dead.
Yes, I'll rest when I'm dead, yeah.
Rest when you're dead, and that doesn't make any sense.
Because you're dead.
If I'm dead,
how am I resting?
How am I going to know I'm dead? That's number one, right? Rest when you're dead. So in order for me to rest, it meant that I needed to kill myself, which doesn't add up. And so I literally had to learn how to rest. For me, on a Sunday morning, because it was family ritual, I knew I had to be up by 6 o'clock, crack of dawn.
On a Sunday?
On a Sunday. And it involved me cleaning the house, me washing my uniform to get ready for school the next day, because I was in the Caribbean for most of my adolescent life, or well, part of my adolescent life. So I knew, and even though I appreciate learning those tasks early, because now it helps me, it's what makes me who I am, a lot of those experiences, there wasn't this intentionality about, okay, you need to take a nap, you need to slow down, and you need to rest. So for me, when I met my husband and was dating him, my boyfriend at the time, and I went over to their house, and I saw them all chilling. And I would walk in, they would just have dinner, the dishes were in the sink, and they were just chilling. I would look at them like, so nobody's gonna wash the dishes, so y'all just be lazy. Y'all just sitting around, nobody's gonna do anything. Like, it felt strange, and I started to feel anxious. And I'm like, why the hell am I anxious? Everybody was piled up in the parents' bed, they were laughing, they were having a grand old time. Not that my family didn't do that, but we all knew we needed to get our jobs done first. You need to get your chores done first. So that felt weird, and it continued into my schoolwork. If I didn't get 100, I didn't feel like my effort was warranted. I discredited my effort, because we knew you need to get straight A's. You need to get straight A's. And so my identity became attached to my doing, my performing. Now, the hard part about that is for a long time, and I didn't know until later on in life, after becoming a therapist, I didn't know that my IBS, for those of us who struggle with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, I didn't know that it was IBS, because nowhere in the Caribbean at the time is this emphasized. I struggled with IBS for years and didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't understand. It started out being IBS-C, which means constipation, and later on turned into IBS-D, because IBS can look different for different people. Some people it's IBS, but they're constipated and haven't gone to the restroom for weeks and days. And it can look like diarrhea, where I can't stop going to the bathroom.
Wow.
And so as a child, and I had been taken to see the doctor so many times, but doctors are not necessarily trained in behavioral health, mental health. So no one really asked what the stress was like around me as a child. And my family, because we weren't wealthy people, we experienced a lot of stress associated with surviving, making sure we had food, making sure we were going to school, making sure we were surviving. And so I struggled with IBS for a long time and didn't understand the meaning behind it. So I started having health issues early, stomach issues. And so no one, and I learned to be strong, because I didn't want to be the problematic one. So my way of making sure that I maintain acceptance and be viewed as favorable was to excel and excel and excel. And so I was involved in multiple activities, extracurricular. I was singing, I was doing drama at school, I was doing all sorts of things in an attempt, and you don't know these because you're doing this unconsciously. Not realizing that it was all in the name of wanting to be loved, wanting to be seen, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be the good child, the one that sets the way, paves the way for my siblings, because you're the eldest and it is your job to set an example for your siblings.
Yeah.
And so I learned very quickly that no one checks on the strong one.
No, not at all.
No one checks on the strong one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what was the cost of wearing it? I've already named some of it. I had issues with my adrenal glands. There were times when I felt so tired that I was tired of feeling tired. I was tired of feeling tired. What else happened for you? Can you relate to any of this?
Mine was I became excessively anxious. My lot in life was panic attacks. I would have silent panic attacks. Nobody would know because you can't have panic attacks in front of everybody.
No.
And so I would have these panic attacks in my room, sleepless nights, and I began to struggle with my identity. No one talks about it, but I, for years, had an identity crisis. I didn't realize I was having identity crisis because who am I without the doing? Who am I without fixing everybody's problems or being that high achiever? And so for a long time, I actually didn't have an identity of my own.
That's a burden.
Yeah, it was just now as I became like a therapist and in my adulthood did I begin to actually develop my own personality, because for a long time I didn't have a personality. Wow. I had their personality.
So let me get this right. If at church, Murnell's expected to be the good girl.
Yep.
The one who is spirit-filled, faith-filled. That's the version of you at church.
That's me at church.
That's the identity
at church
you take on at church.
Yes.
Because that's how you believe people want to see you.
Yes.
At work, you're expected to be the cheerful one who's organized on top of your task.
That was me.
That's who you are at home.
That was me
at work. And at home, being the good daughter, the big sister, that's who you are.
I was everything they wanted me to be at any time they wanted me to be it.
So you were everything they all wanted you to be except who you needed to be for you.
Exactly.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And people don't understand, like, perfectionism is one of the results.
Yeah. And that's what I see often in the work that we do, and I do, is I literally have to pause with individuals and help them to define what they want their identity to look like. Because for so long it's been attached to who they were told they need to be, who we are told we need to be, and how we need to function, that without those roles, your roles are not your identity.
Yep.
Your roles, the roles you play as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a church-going faithful person, as an ideal employee, that is not your identity. And so I'm having to slow people down to talk about their values, their guiding principles, and help them to define who they want to create this way of being that they want to develop for themselves. Because when you're busy being everything else for everybody else, it causes mass confusion.
So much. And
your body is going to react to it with anxiety. Because you can't always predict how you think people want you to be.
And that's a part of it. And that's where a lot of the times in this perfectionist role, there is this people-pleasing aspect.
Yes.
And it's strong.
Yes.
Because you're predicting, who am I going to be with this person at this moment
It's
in time?
Exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
So I was always tired, too.
Of course.
I was always tired.
Of course. I see that. So there was one point that I actually ended up being hospitalized for what they call stress-induced paralysis.
Yeah.
My body was so tired of serving in these different roles and being the backbone of the family that my body said, enough of this, we're shutting it down.
Wow. That's scary.
And that looked like the only thing I was able to do in that moment was to see things and hear things. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. My entire body was paralyzed. And that was a scary time for me.
Yeah.
And it was my body's way of saying, I mean, I'm so thankful that I came out of it. Mm-hmm. But this was my body's way of saying, enough
is enough.
Enough is enough. This is it. You know? And so being perfect might have kept you safe as a child, kept me safe as a child. Did. But it's not keeping me safe from it was keeping me unsafe in the sense that it's now keeping me from being free. So what kept me safe as a child, what kept you safe as a child, was keeping us from being free. Free from the labels, free from the expectations, free from the burdens. It was keeping us stuck, suppressed, burdened, sick to our stomachs, literally. So being perfect might have kept you safe as a child, but now it's keeping you from being free.
I love that.
Yes. And so this piece around perfectionism and anxiety, right? Mm-hmm. I actually enjoy anxiety, believe it or not. It tends to go hand in hand, depression, anxiety, and perfectionism.
Yes.
Because we tend to do this paralysis by analysis. If we don't think it's perfect enough, we stall. And it looks like procrastination.
Yes, it does.
If it's not perfect enough, if I don't think all the people who I'm trying to please them, if I don't think it's perfect enough to meet their expectations,
I freeze.
We freeze. We stall. We shut down. And then now there's delay in getting what we said we were going to do done.
And depression kicks
in. Depression kicks in. Feelings of unworthiness kicks in.
There goes
and
the
anxiety.
Self-talk. Yep.
That is flipping exhausted.
That's the cycle.
It's a lot all at once. And so I think it's important for us to be intentional about making space to start rebuilding safety, redefining safety without perfection. Redefining what safety needs to look like without perfection.
Yeah.
I'm going to say toxic perfectionism.
Yes.
Because perfectionism all in of itself isn't always necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It's when the identity is now attached to it in an unhealthy way. It's now causing significant distress and is affecting how I function as a human being.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about it being perfect than I am about me being well
human, right.
and me being human. It's actually dehumanizing.
Yes, it is. Yes,
you know?
it is.
So I think it's important. The first step is to start by becoming best friends with yourself.
That's a journey.
Start by becoming best friends with yourself. So now when people ask me to do things, I like to say, let me take a look at my calendar. Let me think about it and get back to you. That time I used to ask myself, if I take on this request, how is it going to affect me? How is it going to affect me mentally, emotionally? How is it going to affect my immediate family? Do I want to do it, or am I doing it impulsively as a trauma response? And so checking it with me to see how I feel, how my body is responding to it. Do I want to do it, or what is my motive for wanting to say yes versus yes? And then later on I resent you.
Right.
Because I feel like I don't have a choice or a way out of it. Befriend yourself. Spend time learning you, watching your behaviors. When people ask you to do things, when you're in other people's presence, start checking in with you. Introduce self-compassion. Being kind. Being more kind to you. Do you know we tend to treat ourselves how we were treated as children? A lot of us, we treat ourselves how we're treated by our caregivers. And I don't necessarily mean parents.
Yeah. Because not all of us are parents or are caregivers.
Right. Some of us, our parents were our aunts. Mm-hmm. Some of us, it's when we go to school and the teacher steps in the role of a caregiver. Mm-hmm. Or when we go to church and we tend to treat ourselves how we were treated because that's our schema. Yeah, that's what was modeled. That's the example we saw, and we don't even realize we're doing it unconsciously. It starts with setting boundaries for yourself. Ask yourself, what rules do I need to put in place for me in terms of how I'm showing up for others? And so I have a quick exercise I can share with people.
Yeah, go ahead.
Grab a sheet of paper and draw 2 lines. Make it equally across the page. And in one column, you're going to put names, and you're going to write down all the names of the people you're consistently doing things to try to please. In the second column, you're going to write cost. What is this relationship costing you? And in the last column, I want you to write, how is it benefiting you? If these relationships are costing you more than they're benefiting you to be a part of it, it's time for you to take a step back and evaluate, why are you functioning this way? Are you rescuing? Is your value attached to your pleasing them or things being perfect? Or are you doing it by choice? If it's costing you more than it's benefiting you, it's time to slow it down and take a closer look at it, right? Normalize mistakes. Normalize mistakes. Train yourself to slow down.
That's the biggest one.
Slow the hell down.
Slow down.
And softness. Be gentle with yourselves. Be gentle with yourself. Anything else you can think about, Murnell, that you could recommend?
Well, I would say there's some therapeutic practices that are good, like coming up with a phrase or a mantra, like I am good enough, I am worthy, and repeating that to yourself. Another thing I like to do is I like to reassure my inner child.
Okay.
I like to sit with my inner child, because when I feel the emotions starting to show up and I'm ready to please, I put my hand on my chest and I say, I'm an adult. I got you. I can support you. And then, and that's like, something that we can do as a somatic technique to soften the rigidity of the situation. I like to do a lot of sitting with myself and sitting with my body, taking deep breaths. Before doing anything. I was like, when I'm finished with a task, I've learned to stop, take a breath, and then move on to the next task. It helps to clear my mind and reset me for the next task, so I'm not jumping in and rushing into doing all of it all at once, because that moving fast will get you.
Something just came to mind I want to add, Murnell, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes for individuals who have a lot of gut issues or pelvic floor issues, when we're stressed, we tend to constrict. We're so tense, our body's tense and our guts are tight. And sometimes I'll say to my clients, or I'll even do it for myself, check in and see where your tongue is. Is it at the roof of your mouth, or is it at the base of your mouth? Right? If you find that it's at the top of your mouth, at the roof of your mouth, gently lower it to the base of your mouth. And notice how your body starts to feel like a softening. And for those individuals who might be struggling with numbness, you may not be able to feel it at first because your body is protecting you so rigidly. Don't shame yourselves. Practice lowering your tongue from the roof of your mouth, because in doing so, what you're doing is teaching your whole system to soften. And if you're paying attention, you will actually notice and feel the response. Sometimes in your bladder, you feel it in your gut, the softening. So I just wanted to highlight that as another practice people can use to help themselves,
And I want everybody to know, your worth is not your productivity. You're already enough.
Say that one more time.
Your worth is not your productivity. You are already enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I like to tell myself that I am more than enough, that I am more than worthy. And I think giving yourself that reassurance, you are more than enough. And who's enough and who's worthy are you basing your worth and value on? That's a prompt, I think, a journal prompt for those of you who are with us. Who's enough, who's worthy are you basing your value on? Whose is it? Is it your version or definition of what worth or being good enough is that you're using to determine your value? Or is it based on somebody else's or other people's? Because if you're not taking a step to reflect on what your worth is for you, how you're defining it, and what being good enough is for you, then you will defer to other people's definition of it. And I often say to my clients, if the way I see me and the way I feel about me and the things I do is dependent on how I think you see me and what I think you expect of me, then you are my idol. If the way you see me determines how I feel about myself, and if the things that I do is dependent on how I think you want me to perform, then perhaps I have made you my idol, my God.
Wow.
And then I will have left no room for me.
Wow.
None.
And men don't make good God.
Say that again.
Men don't make good God.
Men don't make good gods, right? And so no matter what I do, if that's the case, it will never be good enough because I'm trying to meet your needs
And not my own.
and not my own. And there's no way in hell I can keep you satisfied all the time by trying to be perfect and performing, because you are going to get disappointed when I can't keep up.
Yeah.
And if my identity is based on keeping you and everybody else happy, I am going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And it's important to define what worth is, what quality is. I always tell people effort matters. Sometimes all you have to give is effort in that moment, and we have to be okay with that. So another prompt is, what did you learn about failure growing up? How was failure defined in your household? How is failure defined for you now? How is failure defined in all areas of your life? What are you when no one needs you to be strong?
Wow.
Or who are you
Wow.
when no one needs you to be strong? Who are you when no one needs you to be strong?
Wow.
And I just want to also encourage you to affirm for yourself, I am allowed to rest. I am worthy even when I am not performing.
Wow. And so, I want to encourage everybody to release their survival habits that no longer serve them. And just to remember that you don't need to be perfect all the time. Perfectionism is nice, but not at the expense of yourself. And with that being said, please don't forget to like the episode, share with your friends and family, somebody who you think needs to hear this. Leave us comments, and I would love to start hearing some stories. So please share your stories with us, and so that we can know how to tailor our content to you and to just bring it to you guys in a way that will encourage and uplift and educate all of us. And don't forget to join us for our next episode. It's a big one, which is sexual abuse in the shadows, when silence protects the wrong people.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one. That one.
Yes.
So we hope that you will join us, continue to be with us. We thank you for making space. And until next time, be kind to yourselves because you deserve it.